Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham. Last video I have explained you about the meaning of the term perquisites. What are the different types of perquisites? What are the provisions regarding taxability of perquisites? Perquisites are many, but out of which few important perquisites are there which are common and which will be frequently asked in examination. The most important is rent-free accommodation. So what is the taxability of rent-free accommodation? Elaborate provisions are given and I have explained you in detail in the last video. Hope my regular viewers have already watched that video, got a command, the concept of perquisites and the provisions regarding taxability of rent-free accommodation. Now in this video I am going to explain you about few more perquisites. The perquisites like concession in rent of accommodation. Sometimes the employer will provide an accommodation to the employee not rent free but charge some nominal rent. So first we have to treat the house as rent free accommodation and calculate the value of rent free accommodation. From that value deduct the rent paid by the employee to the employer. Then we'll get the concession. Example, the value of rent-free accommodation comes to, let it be 2 lakh rupees. 2 lakh is the value of rent-free accommodation, out of which 50,000 is the rent paid by the employee. So 2 lakh minus 50,000, 1,50,000 is called concession in rent. That is taxable perquisite. Apart from that, I have explained you about insurance premium on the policy of employee paid by the employer. Sometimes there is an agreement between the employer and the employee that the insurance premium of the employee will be paid by the employer. It is a taxable perquisite. Similarly, any personal monetary obligation of the employee met by the employer. In many cases, what will happen? The electricity bill, the telephone bill, the gas bill, the club bills in the name of the employee, but the bill is paid by the employer. Gas connection is in the name of the employee, but gas connection bill is paid by the employer. Electricity is in the name of the employee, but electricity bill is paid by the employer. Like that club membership fee. So many monetary obligations are there which are paid by the employer. That is also taxable. Next one is interest-free loan or concession in the interest on loan. That is also taxable perquisite. Many provisions are there. So in this video, you can get the complete provisions if you watch the video till the end. There are no differences between the provisions of last assessment year and this assessment year. That's why the same explanation I am giving. So on the board, if it is written assessment year 22-23, just ignore it. Watch the complete video to get the complete command on the provisions of perquisites. Similarly, holiday facilities. Sometimes employee will go on holiday, but the tour expenses and the hotel expenses, other expenses are paid by the employer. Again, Income Tax Act says it is a perquisite which is taxable. Lastly, free meals. Sometimes free meals or refreshments will be provided by the employer to the employees. So to what extent it is exempted and how much is taxable? All these things I have explained in this video. Briefly I have explained now. So if you want the complete knowledge, watch the video till the end. Remember, in examination, only problems are not enough. Apart from problems, theory, you must understand and you have to write the theory. You cannot write in your own words because this is law. This is income tax law. So whatever law has given, the same thing we have to write. So little bit patience, hard work is required to get the command on the subject income tax. Perquisites taxable in the hands of all employees. Second, perquisites taxable only in specified cases. And lastly, tax-free perquisites. The last video I have explained you about the rent-free accommodation. How to calculate the value of rent-free unfurnished accommodation and furnished accommodation. Now in this video, I am going to explain you the valuation of other perquisites. Remember these videos, this theory is very important. Without understanding the provisions, you cannot solve the problem. So ultimately the problems are based on these provisions. So watch the video till the end, don't skip in between, always keep a notebook, calculator, pen ready. While explaining, you must write it down itself, right? So before explaining further, take the screenshot of the points which I have given on the board, then I'll explain. Now, first perquisite we have discussed, that is rent-free accommodation. Remember, we are discussing about those perquisites which are taxable to all employees. Now, first rent-free accommodation, second one, concession in rent of accommodation. Sometimes the employer will give the accommodation to the employee not free of rent, but at concessional rent. Example, if the rental value of that flat is 40,000 rupees per month, but the employer is charging only 5,000 rupees per month, that means the employee is getting concession in rent. That is also taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. So how to calculate the value of the perquisite? The value of the perquisite, first we have to treat the accommodation as rent-free. First think that the accommodation is rent-free and calculate its value. After calculating the value of rent-free accommodation, then subtract the rent paid by the employee to the employer. Actual rent paid by the employee, that will be deducted. We'll get the concession. That is taxable. Next, third point. Insurance premium paid by the employer on the life policy of the employee or family members. Sometimes the life insurance policy is taken by the employee in his or her name, or the insurance policy is taken in the name of the members of the family. But the premium, insurance premium is paid by the employer. Then whatever insurance premium paid by the employer or payable by the employer is fully taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. Next, any personal monetary obligation of the employee met by the employer. Sometimes some monetary obligations are there of the employee. It has to be paid by the employee, but according to agreement, employer is paying. The expenditure of the employee is being paid by the employer. It is fully taxable perquisite. Examples of those perquisites are: employer pays club bills. The employee has become a member of a club, but the club fees is being paid by the employer. It's an obligation of the employee, met by the employer. Employer pays or reimburses the school or college fees of the children. Then it is taxable perquisite in all cases. Example, the employee's children are studying in a school or college, but the fees is paid by the employer, or fees is reimbursed by the employer. It is a taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. If the employee employs the sweeper, gardener, or any other servant, but the salary is paid by the employer, it is fully taxable. Example, Mr. X employee, he has appointed a sweeper, gardener, or any other servant, but the salary of that servant is being paid by the employer. It's a taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. Income tax or professional tax paid by the employer. Income tax or professional tax of the employee, it has to be paid by the employee. But sometimes agreement is there. Whatever income tax or professional tax of the employee will be paid by the employer, then it's a taxable perquisite. So whatever income tax or professional tax paid by the employer, it's a taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. Electricity, water, gas bill of the domestic connection in the name of the employee, but the bill is paid by the employer. Very important. All these points will appear in problems. If you watch carefully with full concentration, you don't find any difficulty in problems. So give more concentration on my lecture. So if the electricity, water, or gas connection is in the name of the employee, the connection is in the name of the employee, but the water bill, electricity bill, gas bill, that bill is paid by the employer. In that case, It's a fully taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. In all the above mentioned examples, the actual amount paid by the employer is the value of the perquisite. Here few examples I have given. These are the monetary obligations of the employee paid by the employer. So whatever amount employer pay, that is the value of the perquisite. That's all. So we have completed fourth point. Now fifth point is regarding interest-free loan or concession in interest. If an employee has taken a loan from bank, the employee has to pay the interest on the loan. But sometimes the loan will be given by the employer to the employee interest-free, without charging any interest or at concessional interest. In that case, the employee is getting the benefit. There is no need to pay any interest. So that is also a taxable perquisite according to the provisions of Income Tax Act. So if the employer grants loan to the employees for personal purpose as interest-free loan or gives any loan concessional rate, then it is taxable perquisite. Now the loan may be given either to employee or their family members. First point. Second, the value of the perquisite is equal to the interest charged by SBI. So how to find out the value of the perquisite? Income Tax Act has given the provision that whatever rate of interest SBI, State Bank of India, will charge on their lending. When the SBI gives the loan to the customers, what is the rate of interest SBI will charge? That rate of interest will be the value of the perquisite. Next one is, if an employee has taken a loan for medical treatment or on an approved hospital for the following ailments or disease, then it is a tax-free perquisite. Income Tax Act has given some provision. If an employee has taken a loan from the employer for a specified disease, the diseases has been specified by Income Tax Act, and the treatment is done in a recognized hospital. The Income Tax Act has given the list of recognized hospital in every area, every state. So if the employee or their family member suffering from the specified disease and treatment is done in a recognized hospital, then whatever medical expenses, whatever expenditure incurred, whatever loan given, interest-free loan given by the employer to the employee is a tax-free perquisite. Example, Mr. X is suffering from a particular specified disease and he is getting a treatment from a recognized hospital. He has taken a loan of 2 lakh rupees from the employer, interest-free. Income Tax Act says this interest-free loan taken by employee is tax-free because he is suffering from the specified disease and treatment is being done in a recognized hospital. So what are the specified diseases? Cancer, tuberculosis, AIDS, diseases or ailment of the heart or blood lymph glands, bone marrow, respiratory system, or ailment or disease of the eye, ear, nose or throat requiring surgical operation. Small petty ailments, that is not allowed, only requiring surgical operations, then loan taken will be tax-free. Fracture in any part of the skeletal system, gynecological or obstetric ailment requiring surgical operation. Few examples I have given. These are the specified diseases given by the Income Tax Act. If an employee or family member suffering from these diseases and treatment is done in a recognized hospital, taken an interest-free loan from the employer, it's a tax-free perquisite. Now note, if the employee has taken a petty loan, very important note, if an employee has taken a petty loan during the previous year from the employer aggregating to 20,000, then it becomes a tax-free perquisite. Income Tax Act says, if an employee has taken a petty loan means up to 20,000, not more than 20,000. So if the employee has taken small loans, sometimes 5,000, sometimes 10,000, sometimes 2,000, like that small loans the employee has taken from the employer interest-free. In that case, if the aggregate of all the loans taken is up to 20,000, it's a tax-free perquisite, no tax. If the aggregate of all loans taken is up to 20,000, it's called petty loan. Now loan at concessional rate. Sometimes the employer will give the loan not interest-free, but at concessional rate. That means the SBI is charging interest at 15%, but the employer is charging only 5%. So how much is the concession? 10%, 15% minus 5%. So 10% is the concession in interest. That 10% we calculate on the loan amount and we get the benefit. We get the value of the perquisite. That's all. So 5 items I have explained. The taxable, fully taxable perquisite in the hands of all employees. Now 6th one, holiday facilities. Sometimes the employee or their family members availing holiday facilities provided by the employer to the employees. It is a taxable perquisite in all the cases for every employee. Holiday facilities given by the employer to the employee or their family members. So what is the value of the perquisite? The expenditure incurred by the employer on traveling, on accommodation or any other expenses paid by the employer. The aggregate of all expenditure incurred by the employer on holiday facility will be a taxable perquisite. Next one, free meals. Sometimes free meals are given by the employer to the employee. Now what is the tax position? Here different situations I have explained, and remember these provisions are very important. Every now and then frequently will come across these points while doing the problem. So you must be in a position to remember that this is the provision of Income Tax Act for this point. Now if the value of the free meals provided by the employer to the employee is taxable perquisite to all employees. So free meals given by the employer to the employee will be a taxable perquisite. But some situations are there. Refreshment, remember, refreshment, snacks, tea or soft drinks provided by the employer to the employee during business hours and within the business premises is a tax-free perquisite. During business hours, 2 conditions are attached. Refreshments, snacks, tea, soft drinks, etc. These are the things which are provided by the employer to the employee during business hours. And within the business premises, it's a tax-free perquisite, not taxable. Secondly, refreshment, snacks, soft drinks, etc. provided by the employer after the business hours. After the business hours, but within the business premises, it is a taxable perquisite. Suppose the business time is 5 o'clock to, suppose evening 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Morning 10, evening 5. These are the business hours. But the employer has provided the soft drinks, refreshments, etc. after 5 o'clock. But within the business premises, it is a taxable perquisite in the hands of the employee. Last, refreshments, snacks, tea, soft drinks, etc. provided by the employer after business hours and outside the business premises. If the employer provides the refreshments to the employee after the business hours and outside the business premises, it is a taxable perquisite. Free meals provided by the employer during office hours in the office premises if the cost of each meal is less than ₹50. Very important. So far we have discussed about refreshments. Now we are discussing about meals. Meals include lunch as well as dinner. So suppose the employer provides free meals in the form of lunch or in the form of dinner. If it is provided within the business premises and during the business hours, it is tax-free perquisite if the cost of each meal is up to 50 rupees. Up to 50 rupees each meal, it is tax-free, right? If for free meals provided by the employer during office hours, in the office premises, if the cost of each meal is more than 50 rupees, in excess of 50 rupees, then whatever is the value in excess of 50 rupees, that is taxable. Example, during the year, the employer has provided meals to the employees for 100 days. For 100 days, each day, the cost of each meal is, let it be 200 rupees. 200 rupees is the cost of each meal. But Income Tax Act says up to 50 rupees it is exempted. So 200 minus 50, 150 rupees is taxable per day. 150 is taxable per day. So how many days? 100 days. So 150 into 100, 15,000. So 15,000 is the value, taxable value of perquisite. Next, free meals provided to an employee in an official tour. Suppose if the employee is sent on official tour, on the official tour he is having the meals and the meal bill is paid by the employer. It's a tax-free perquisite because he is on official tour and the meal expenditure is paid by the employer. It's a tax-free. Next one, free meals provided by the employer to the employer during working hours, which is provided to a remote area or an offshore installation. Tax-free perquisite. Sometimes the free meals are provided by the employer to the employee who is working in a remote area or an offshore installation. In that case, it's a tax-free perquisite because he is working in a remote area and the meals are provided during business hours. Then, free meals provided by the employer to the employee after working hours in a remote area. After working hours in a remote area or an offshore installation, it's a taxable perquisite. So these are the points you have to remember regarding the valuation of perquisite. Still many more perquisites have to come. Only after knowing the provisions of all the perquisites, then only you should go for the problems. So I wish you all the best for your preparations and take more interest in the subject of income tax. It's very interesting. Normally students will think that it's a boring subject or it will require a lot of hard work, but you will enjoy in learning the provisions, and all these provisions are practically implemented in India according to the Income Tax Act 1961. So if you are satisfied, give a like to the video, share my channel, give your comments, subscribe my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and buy the super thanks which is given below my video. Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion on perquisites in the next video.